We are now live from the TheLawProcess studios with Jade and Grace. In today's news, we will be discussing the impact coronavirus has had on the legal industry and what this means for future lawyers.
We're going to kickstart the commercial awareness series with the one and only C word, the word that we're all sick and tired of hearing, coronavirus.
Also known as the Rona or COVID-19.
Yes, coronavirus has undoubtedly changed the legal industry.
The virus has hit law firms' revenues and they've had to take measures to mitigate their financial fallout. Workers have been laid off, redundancies have been made, salaries and working hours have been reduced, and firms have benefited from the coronavirus job retention scheme, also known as furlough.
In June, 91% of firms communicated that they may be placing their staffs on furlough, up from 77% in April. 54% of firms reduced or plan to reduce their partner drawings, and 57% of firms feels that there will be a moderate or a large change to the remote working policy in the future.
How much a law firm is impacted depends on the sector in which it specialises in, as coronavirus has had different impacts on different sectors. Employment law and private client are two practice areas within law firms that have had an increased number in cases. There is an increased number of unfair dismissals, redundancies, and there is a surge in people wanting to sort out their wills. On the other hand, some practice areas have seen a slowdown in work, as clients are investing their resources into other areas and are nervous to spend big. We have seen this with some mergers and acquisitions being put on hold.
The outbreak of COVID-19 has also affected litigation in various ways, from increased use of remote hearings to general court closures. Over half of the courts and tribunals in England and Wales were suspended. The Supreme Court building was closed. Cases and judgment hand-downs have been conducted by video link.
Coronavirus has also caused an unprecedented switch to remote work, and legal service delivery has become virtual. Law firms, especially smaller and medium-sized practices, have had to adapt to a more flexible approach and invest in better IT systems for remote working. Before coronavirus, most firms were very traditional and preferred staff working in the office. But now it seems remote working is very favoured, with some firms rethinking the use of their office space. In fact, law firms Slater & Gordon decided not to renew their lease, which expires at the end of summer, and now permanently work remotely post-coronavirus. We may potentially see more firms do the same.
So how does all of this affect future lawyers? Well, firms are now reducing their overheads wherever they can. Because of the economic effect of this pandemic, a number of law firms have now confirmed that they will push back the start date of their trainees. Irwin Mitchell was one of the first firms to delay the start date of its future training solicitors. DWF have also delayed its next UK trainee intake by 6 months, and they have also revealed that its summer vacation scheme will be moved online because of the virus disruption. DLA Piper has offered their future training solicitors £10,000 to delay the start date by a year.
Universities, law schools and a number of training providers have also moved learning online. For the LPC, the SRA required a face-to-face assessment. However, this was practically impossible, so at first they delayed the start date till autumn 2020. But this received backlash from students, so now the SRA and other training providers are allowing students to take their exams online.
Pre-2008 financial crash, on average, about 80% of trainees end up staying with the same firm that trained them. But after the crash, that fell to 74%, and the 2010 NQs also suffered from this financial strain. So it is hard to predict what the job market will look like for future trainees and future NQs.
But the good news for trainees that are nearing the end of their training contract is that they can now qualify before completing the professional skills course, as long as these modules are completed within a year of qualifying.
It is still quite early to predict the full financial impact of coronavirus, but firms are predicting a gloomy outlook. However, if we compare and draw parallel from the 2008 financial crash, the world and the economy recovered very well from that period, and the legal industry came back on top. So we're hoping it will do the same again.
We will now leave you with some food for thought. Between 2010 and 2019, we saw 70 large law firm mergers in the UK and USA. Are we going to see a new law firm merger wave later this year and into 2021 and beyond?
Also, as some law firms are now thinking of making remote working indefinite, meaning employees will not be spending money on travel to work, are we going to see a lowering of wages?
Finally, for anyone applying for legal jobs or doing training contract applications, you may want to consider the fact that the impact of coronavirus on law firms may become a topical question. Just like we saw with Brexit, So that brings us to the end of our commercial awareness news round for today.
Yes, and we shall see you in our next one.